What's up? What's up? What's up to all my peoples? Welcome to another episode of Unspoken Truth Podcast. I'm your host, Tanise, and I got a guest. Tonight's episode is about business, highlights, showcasing. I did it last month. I'm going to continue to do it once a month where I'm highlighting the people that I'm meeting, the people I'm connecting with. I want to know, like, just the backstory on the whole business thing. So I'll start by letting you just introduce yourself.
Oh, for sure. So my name is Jada, CEO of Indi Media, and founder of Destination Dream Foundation based in Cleveland, Ohio. Let's see. The backstory of everything started when I was like 19, and I actually was out here at Kent State University. So I went to school out here at Kent. That's kind of where all of, I guess, like the business stuff came from.
Okay.
I was always an artist, a creative, always looking to figure out, I guess, how to make that connect. You hear a lot about, like, I guess, like starving artists, especially like as a black creative, you don't really get to hear like successful artist stories. You really just don't. So you don't really get inspired to understand what it would even be like to be a entrepreneur or like an artpreneur and like put that together and figure out how to make money from the arts, right? Okay. So I was always into the arts, always trying to figure out how to make that work, but I guess I kind of just like fueled that into sports when I was little. So I played basketball a lot, but then once it got to like figuring out college and all that stuff, got to Kent State, chose electronic media, and then that kind of just like started everything. So I was learning how to create my own videos, started a web series out here called Destination Dream. I would literally interview all my dope friends about what they wanted to do, basically when they left college, like, what's your destination dream after this? Stuff that they was inspired about, things, endeavors that they wanted to do after we graduated. And then that kind of elevated into me doing shows out here in this area. Creative shows, art events, house parties where I'm bringing artists. I started my clothing line out there. Indi stands for individuality. So that whole home base kind of started in Kent, and then it kind of just elevated as I elevated into like being a platform for artists, not only to just like do shows and connect, but to market the artist and educate the artist on, how to make profit from being in business as an artist, because you got to know both.
Okay, so I'm going to just say how I even got connected to you. I met your brother.
Yeah.
At T-Mobile, and we was just talking. I'm a big energy person, and we was just talking, and I was just telling him, like, I started this podcast platform, non-judgmental, where we talk about the stuff that plagues or affects or is happening in our neighborhoods, in our communities. Sure. And that's sort of how I started this. It was like a therapy, really, for me, where I was unpacking stuff about myself and learning about how to talk and heal and use my voice as such. And it just kind of started from there. So I was talking to him about that, and he was like, he was like, my sister and me and the family, we do this and we do that. And I was like, what? Wait a minute. I'm just big on people. I always want to know people's story. And I've traveled quite a bit where I've had a chance to, like, meet. But we started talking about California and the stuff that y'all was doing there. Yeah. And I was like, wait, I was there earlier this year. I mean, we just had a whole conversation. He was like, just please follow my sister. And I was like, okay. I was like, it's done. Before I even walked out of the store, I had already started following you and kind of scrolling through your stuff. I think the part that really grasped me where I was like, I got to get this girl on my show. I got to. Because it's a lot of people in my family that's doing stuff. Mm-hmm. But what I realized with this thing is, it's not enough platforms out here for us to push, for us to share. Nice. And I'm not doing this for no monetary gain. Like I said, it started out with me just being on a healing journey within myself. Mm-hmm. And me realizing, like, if I share and I'm more transparent about the things that I've been through, how many people I could help, being a mother of 3 and all my kids is grown now, you know, it's like, well, wait a minute. The way I've shaped and helped and molded them in certain ways, why can't I do that for other people?
Definitely.
So that's how all of this stuff started. But the main thing I think that like really connected me with you was the things that you doing with, is it your grandmother's house?
Yeah.
Like,
Our
please
grandparents' house,
tell us about that and how that came about.
Yeah, so my grandparents' house ended up being for sale. Basically, it's a house in what's called the Buckeye area in Cleveland. It's a very, I guess, impoverished community. It's pretty ghetto. It's been like that all my life for sure. Definitely wasn't like that when my grandmother and my grandfather bought that house back in like what I want to say like the 50s and 60s. It was actually a predominantly white neighborhood. Buckeye was, and a lot of rich white people lived in that on that particular street, Forest Avenue. And then over the years, as you know about, you know, or if you don't know about gentrification and how, you know, communities get bought out by entities and companies that do not look like us, and they kind of do things that we're not expecting to happen in our community, and we're not really like plan to understand, and you get kicked out sometimes, or things just start going down. You just start missing things like houses or lots or XYZ. So that community has definitely been through a series of, I'll say, changes throughout my lifetime. And the property, let's see, it's been in my family, I want to say at least 40 plus years. And like I said, it was for sale. So like my mother and my aunts owned the property, and it was just like a discussion. Like my grandma had passed, and it was like, okay, this was like, she passed in like, I want to say 2016, but like, you know, they were still on the deed. So it was just kind of like a discussion throughout the years. Like, okay, once my auntie had moved out the property, what was going to happen with the property? Like, okay, what do y'all want to do with it? Do we want to sell it? Do we want to keep it? If we keep it, what are we going to do with it? Do we want to get a tenant in here? XYZ. They didn't want to do that because of the neighborhood is kind of like bad. So they was just trying to figure all that out. I had kind of heard about it, ins and outs, you know, just kind of being like a fly on the wall. But at the same time, I had aligned myself in real estate. So I was already trying to understand what like avenue I wanted to take in real estate. And then I figured out it would be wholesale real estate. So wholesale real estate is when you basically don't have to get a property with any cash or credit or anything. You're just basically selling the contract to the end buyer. So learned how to do that, educated myself in good old YouTube University for several months. Got super educated in that, taught myself and my family members, my brothers and sisters, how to do it with me. And we sold 2 properties together. After that, basically I accumulated the profits from that to purchase something. I didn't know it was going to be my grandma's house, but I was definitely saving that money for something. And then blessings just happened to where conversation was really centered around, okay, we're going to sell it. So once they started like showing it to, you know, potential buyers, this buyer wanted it. His offer was $8,500. So I was like, yeah, nah, that's super low. So I matched his offer, $8,500 flat. And then my mother was basically like, okay, well, if you're going to match that offer, I'm not going to sign off on it until, you feel me, they say yes. So everybody basically said yes to me getting it. It definitely wasn't as easy as how I just said it. It was a lot of pushback, a lot of questions. Black families not really used to understanding economics and wealth. So it's kind of like, where you get $8,500? What was you doing? How you get that? You trying to buy a grandma house? What you about to do? How you know what I'm saying? All of that. So you gotta deal with that. And then you gotta deal with the fact that, like, I'm big Jada now, but, like, family members, they still see me as little Jada. So it's like, what? Like, what? So, yeah.
And please, like, tell in more detail what that's like, because it's something that our communities are lacking. We don't have the togetherness. We don't have the culture that we should to pull that type of stuff off. I think that was like the most impressive thing to me, because I'm in that same boat, although I've started several businesses, I want to say my first business was commercial cleaning.
Oh, nice.
And I just did it because I felt like, man, it's a bunch of people that's good at cleaning.
That's a money maker.
And the family, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I was thinking generational wealth always,
Right.
regardless to the business venture.
Yeah.
You know, but just talk about like how that felt when it's like, oh, okay, I don't really believe or support you trying to pull something off,
yeah, and
like that.
Exactly, and it's artsy, so it's kind of like awkward to those who might not understand, you know, what that full concept was. And then it's a house, it's a residential house, so I'm talking about turning it into an art studio. And my aunties done been raised in this house. My mama was raised in this house, so it's like they cannot see what I'm saying. Like they cannot see how, you know, their old bedrooms are going to be renovated into, you know, a photography studio. They can't see how the downstairs living room and dining room is going to be renovated into an art gallery and a gathering area. Like they can't see the kitchen being a chalk floor. Like they can't see that. So I'm having to, yes, speak that and visualize that, but in all transparency, I had to bring a real estate partner through. I had to bring like some evidence to like kind of back me up and like, you know, bring my mentors and kind of really show them like, okay, yeah, like she been doing this. She been doing real estate with us. We've been teaching her. Like she really serious about this. But when you are serious about that, it's like you go through whatever lengths that you got to go through to get what you want. Because at the end of the day, we talking about legacy. Like it's not just any house. Like this is my grandma's house. So it's like the perspectives are different. It's like, okay, I see y'all are trying to figure out what to do with it. In my opinion, that should never been a thought. It should always been we keep in the house, but everybody is thinking from different perspectives. So some people are, you know, coming from the fact that we lived in this house our whole life. Like, we don't want to keep it no more. Both our parents gone, da-da-da-da. I'm like, them our grandparents, though, we got to keep the house. Like, regardless of whatever going on, them our grandparents, we got to keep the house. If you don't have, and this is for all black families, if you don't have any, like seed of legacy, then it's very difficult to build that foundation of generational wealth. It's very difficult to, like, rewind the bloodline if that wasn't established first. And it can be established, you just got to find that gem in your family. So it could be grandma's house. It could be, you know, uncle's lot. It could be, you know, grandma's old car. But it's like figuring out ways to keep that legacy going and that part of whatever that is going so that you can generate wealth from it. Like, because we, unfortunately, we didn't get that same playing field. It wasn't even for us. So that was like my chance to grab that, and it was definitely difficult because, like I said, yes, my family didn't understand, but more so, like, the people. It was a lot of people, like community people, funders we had to explain this stuff to, like, to really get it set in stone, getting the profit just together for it, like, trusting myself, believing in myself the whole time, to keep that through that mental game is a real battle, like, to stay mentally forthright and to stay confident, regardless of all of the mental gymnastics I'm going through to really get that done.
Oh, that's your bro. Okay. We should be helping.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what it was, and I think that's what it is for black creatives. We struggle more, and that's like not nothing that we like to wear proudly. That's just the truth of our experience, especially as a black creative, because they didn't give us a route to be successful as an artist. Like, they'll show you how you can get into the arts as like an entryway. Like, maybe you go to an artistic school. Maybe you might, you know, make it by chance into the music industry. But in all of those different things, there's still no education for the independent artist. Like, even if I'm hopping into the music industry, I'm trusting somebody else with my whole intellectual property. I'm not educated on how to just do that myself or think about that concept to build an industry myself. Or I'm not taught even in school how to separate my mind from my white counterpart as to how I think about being the president, as opposed to looking at all of these presidents. Like, you know what I'm saying? They teach us differently.
They did. And I don't know. Corporate just never agreed with me, period. I'm not knocking nobody who wake up and punch a clock every day. What I will say, and hope for the people who follow me, just the people I'm connected with, is that if you doing that every single day and it's still not going towards some type of dream or some type of purpose, it's a disservice, in my opinion, because you helping aid and fund somebody else's dream and somebody else's blueprint, and you helping them walk it out. And you're not willing to bank on yourself the same way you willing to punch this clock to make sure you follow and obey these rules.
Yes.
And that was just like the kicker for me. I was like, once I got to that point with them working for other people, I was like, this ain't gonna work for me. I would rather be able to figure out every single entity of what it's like for me to be the boss.
Yeah.
And be okay with it versus me having to ask, oh, well, can I, and if I can, well, how long?
Man, listen.
And I, raising children, I just never wanted to be in a position where I had to choose work over them. And I think that kind of separated me from a lot of black women in particular being entrepreneurs because it's so underrated. We are the underdogs when it comes to it. Not saying that we incapable, not saying that we can't do it.
Right.
It's just not enough support for the ones that are stepping up
consistently. Yes.
to be seen, to be heard, to be recognized, and forget the recognition. But I'm just saying, just to say, hey, look, if I'm doing it, it's absolutely positively possible for you to do it, regardless of your circumstance, your background, your history. When we talking about business, and I'll just drop a few little jewels because you mentioned consistency. And when I first started doing this thing, I wasn't. And I was like, you got all of this stuff going on. You got all of this stuff going on. Like, why you not utilizing your voice, and I think that for me, I had to break free of everything else I was trying to do so I could focus, because I think people think when they start businesses that they only see the end result of the work that's been put in for you to get to where you're trying to go. They don't see the work that's involved per se, the process of it all. And I think that creates an illusion where it seems like, okay, this is easy. It ain't as hard as they saying. But it's going to be times where you like, I ain't so sure if this is
I don't know.
what I want to do for real.
For sure.
Because you meet that adversity, that pushback, that resistance that you was talking about.
Exactly.
But I also believe that the reason why most people retreat instead of pushing past that feeling is because we was taught that failure was before the success. Instead of along the way. And I had to learn that. I had to learn it because I don't think that people understand. I think that we all gravitated towards that because it was what was told to us. But at some point you have to separate yourself from what you've been taught so that you can be your own critical thinker. Right? So, I think that just the different things that I've been through on a business level, those are some of the gems that I took away from just the experience. Because if you can't handle failing, because you gonna fail at something. I thought, I can't do this because I ain't got this, I ain't got that. No. My niece was like, you worrying about all the stuff that's gonna come after you start. The people is waiting on you to start. So then they can see like, okay, she's serious about this thing. I could really back her up on whatever she's trying to do. And that's how you build a support system. It's not going to start out like a large crowd. It's going to be probably people you don't know.
Exactly.
Let me say that for sure, because I think in the beginning I was bent on, well, why my people? Or why the people I thought was going to show up for me, why they ain't? I'm always showing up for them. Like, well, what's happening? And I think that if you don't experience that, you don't have that respect.
Right.
That tough skin that is going to be required in order for you to keep pushing.
Yes. Required. Because it is required. Because it's a mental game. It's like mental gymnastics, but it's really, when you look at it and when you get deep into the entrepreneurship, it's like you versus you for real. Because it's like you end up getting to a point where all of the stuff you just talked about, you drown it out. Because it's really it's a spiritual journey as well. Because it teaches you, especially for me, because it teaches you how to be one with yourself to make the proper decisions in business. And I think, like I said, it's all about the education and how we was raised. So we didn't even know that this was an avenue. Like, simply just being yourself and thinking of an idea to make money from. Like, we didn't know that this was an avenue because we didn't see it enough and really, like, grasp it to understand that, like, that's what business is. That's what, even just real estate, like, having a property, that's running a business. Like, or just, thinking of an idea, maybe making a clothing line. Like, it's not just a clothing line. It is a business. It's not just a hobby. Like, it's a business. Art is cool and cute. It's beautiful to look at, but it is a business. So they didn't, and it's not to blame because you end up educating yourself as you go along, but they were strategic, I'll say that, in making sure we were behind on those simple things like you talked about fear. Fear is just a feeling. It's a natural feeling. It's like a dominant, like you born and you get like a dominant preset of feelings 1 through 5. Like, and fear is like number 1. Like, you feel me? But you gotta know that it's just like a preset, and you can literally reset it. Like, you can reset your fear. You gotta trick yourself into understanding that it's just a feeling. It's gonna go away. Would you rather, psych yourself out and be terrified of what, is to come on the other side of that? Or would you rather just, like, feel the feeling of the fear, go through it, and move on to the next feeling? So it's like you got to trick your mind to
or
understand.
Or to regret behind you not making the move that you knew you should have.
Exactly.
Because I think a lot of people, they miss the boat. They miss their opportunity.
You miss the opportunity, yeah.
And I don't want to miss no more opportunities. I had a chance last month to do my niece's first movie premiere, and that was like huge. I'm like, you want me to? She like, yeah, I sure do. She like, because see, this is how we all gonna grow, individually, together. Yeah. Once the connection happened and everybody is riding on the same frequency as far as aligning themselves with their purpose, because that's the whole mission. I think we got sidetracked, and it's okay, because it's gonna be moments where you get sidetracked because it's detours and it's distractions, and it's a whole bunch of stuff that'll get you off your square. So that's gonna happen.
Right.
The question is, I always tell my kids, like, well, shoot, is you counting how many times you fall?
Ooh. Or
is you counting how many times you get up?
Okay.
Because those are two different things.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand the difference, you're gonna struggle. It's not about whatever I thought it was or whatever I taught y'all I thought it was. It's not. It's just like you said, you get to a point where you start self-educating yourself, and you start to be able to depict from what's being said on what resonates with you.
Yeah.
And what need to be took from whatever is happening or being said. Yeah. And you just apply. I think that's a huge nugget. Shout out to all the business owners that I've been showcasing since last week, because last week I did not do an episode because I knew everybody was going to be with their families.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm big on family, we don't spend enough time. So I didn't want to make it be the reason why we not spending no time. No, we going to spend that time when we get back to business as scheduled the following week, and that's why we here tonight, I just want to talk about, I also saw on your page that you had like a block party or something.
Yeah.
Like, I've been like trolling your page, like, man, what she got going? What is going? How is she putting this up? Because if I had met you this summer, I definitely would have had set up for a event.
Oh,
as
we
a
definitely
vendor.
would have had you pull up.
Just because it's art, it's us, it's stuff that we doing.
Real black.
And I so much love that though, because we don't get the credit that we supposed to get. You know, we can talk about that all night long. But whenever I find out about my people and the stuff that they doing, I'm like, how do I get involved? Just tell us more about how that came about and what that consists of and what you plan on doing, you know, in the future.
Okay. So the block party started when we acquired the property. So it took us 3 years, including, you know, the duration of this entire year, to get the property like together to where we opened it. But we wanted to make sure that like we acquired the property, but still like introduce the fact that we were gonna have this house be an art house. So we said, okay, we need to do something community wise to let people know we here, because my grandma's house had been there obviously for years, so people in the community knew it as Laura Mae Evans' house. But outside of that, you know, she been in the heavens for X amount of years, so my auntie been there holding it down. So it's like, okay, they know my auntie lived there, but it's like when my auntie moved and we made the decision for us to, you know, own it, it was just like sitting there for like because COVID had hit, so probably about at least 9 months it was just sitting there. So it looked like a bando, so people didn't really catch the drift, but they respected it. It was crazy to see. It was like, it looked like it's vacant, it looked like it should be being messed with, but it's like nothing being touched. Like it's like a powerful energy that sits over that house. It's really crazy. So that kind of elevated us into us, you know, brainstorming about, you know, what to do, because one, we can't keep letting it sit idle. We got to actually start the plan. Okay, cool. Once we started figuring out how to get grants and everything and turn it into a nonprofit, we realized, okay, we could throw community events, obviously. If we going to be here, we need to occupy the space. We got all these empty lots. We got, you know, basically the street, in my mind, is like a canvas because it's so empty. So, and I kind of feel very connected to it because I was raised on that street. So I know everything about the street. People have definitely moved and changed, but as far as the area and the street, I know that area like the back of my hand. So it wasn't going to be difficult in terms of like, you know, figuring out how to like really put our stake in, because we got the property. So it's like, it's already there. We just got to kind of cultivate this area, because it used to be popping. Like Buckeye used to have this event called the Buckeye Festival. Yeah. And the people in the community knew about it. But certain things, just to not go on a tangent, certain things went wrong with the community. Every community, I'll say every inner city community in all cities, have what's called a CDC, a Community Development Corporation. So it's up to your people who run it, which is like usually your councilmen and certain officials and XYZ. Is up to them to keep it up to par. It's up to them to tell the community what it's for, which is usually a resource center for people to come through and figure out what they need in the community. So Buckeye CDC went underwater because certain things were not being handled properly, and it got taken away from the community. So did things like Buckeye Fest and any other resources that was going through that direct community. So that's a large reason as to why it's been looking like that. It stayed looking like that. No resources was coming through in terms of funding. No money was coming through the Buckeye area and generating and fixing nothing. So they wasn't used to no events, no more. They seen it, remembered it, but they wasn't used to just walking outside and seeing a block party, or just walking outside and seeing happiness, literally, like dancing, community. That was like not happening. Plus it was like a little ways up the street and around the corner. So specifically on this residential street of Forest, which is like where the GDs occupy and where, you know what I'm saying, where a lot of things happen. A lot of things are not nice that happen on this street. They're not particularly this community on this street. They're not used to seeing this at all. So it was very imperative that we did that. And it was very, honestly, I wouldn't say easy, but it wasn't difficult to do. It was like, okay, what's a very just classic way that we could get to the community because we here and we gonna be here. So it's like, okay, let's do a block party. But then once we did it the first time, it's like, okay, we still not done with the house, and they like kind of don't get it yet. So we got to do it again because it's like, all right, they seen it. It was a block party, but it was hit or miss. Like first one was like, oh wow, it's a block party. It's happening on Buckeye. Okay, it's lit. They missed the whole part that like we got this house coming soon. It don't look like nothing right now, but it's gonna be something. They missed that. The second year, did the block party again, way bigger. Had like 200, I think like 214 people came. The actual like exterior of the house was painted at that point, so you could kind of see the renovations getting done. Plus, like throughout the year, people had seen us going back and forth with the contractor. Okay, cool, y'all see now. Okay, we're doing something. We bringing this together. So that block party was like, oh, okay, yeah, like they doing something with this house. It's coming. Then this year, we officially brought everything together because like throughout the whole year, they had just seen it coming together fully. Like it was probably the fastest renovation that the community has seen, literally. So they see it coming together, but still like they ain't nobody been inside. You know what I'm saying? It's just like you see certain things happen. Like you see the art car pop up on the property. You see kids pulling up painting on the art car. You'll see like maybe monuments and stuff that we got, or just certain things, meetings and stuff, people going in and out, but you ain't been able to just come in and see what we doing. So the third block party, we wanted to be intentional about opening the space, but then like it's the grand opening, so like we gotta like blow it up. So it's like, okay, what else can we do to really make it pop? So we was like, okay, we gotta invite. We was very open about this. We said we need a headliner. Okay, cool. I think God aligned it to where we was able to bring Chip the Ripper. So when we brought Chip, it was like, okay, synergy, because he had said he hadn't been in Cleveland for X amount of years. So I was like, dang, okay, well, if you ain't performed in Cleveland in X amount of years, this is like a homecoming for you too. So it's like homecoming for Chip, grand opening for Destination Dream, and it was just like literally like alignment. Like it's crazy how this works. So it was just aligned to happen, and we just came together, and that was probably the biggest partnership outside of the Nipsey partnership. That was probably the biggest community, like grassroots partnership we've had so far, for sure.
Nipsey, wait a minute, hold on, you ain't gonna slide past that. Wait a minute, wait.
Yeah, that was
so
crazy.
You actually, was it a pop-up shop? What did you do when you was in California, and what was the partnership with Nipsey Hussle?
So Nipsey, that was a partnership that happened in 2018 when myself and a few other partners in Cleveland brought him to Cleveland from LA. So we had a panel about voting, and just like, you know, what it means to just have a voice. He's a felon, so you know he couldn't vote. So what does that mean for you? And then we talked about entrepreneurship. We had a whole series of people asking him questions, XYZ. And that day I gave him my merch, and that was the day that he basically put the merch on. I don't know at what point the photo was taken, but he was caught in either LAX airport or our airport in Cleveland with our hoodie on. And then like TMZ got that photo, and it went viral. So that was like a big deal. But
whoa!
That kind of like changed our life. But
that's dope.
Thank you.
That so dope.
Yeah, so I always have that like high in my Rolodex of successes.
Hey,
sure.
Cause people will be like, hey, wait a minute now, I don't know if I could
that's
top that.
Yeah, that's one of my little secret weapons.
I feel like it's so much talent here.
For sure.
And I think that's another reason why it's imperative. Because I think when I did it the first time, so many people did not realize that I had showcased them on my podcast page, that they didn't get the message that I sent. Because whenever I post anybody, I message them and tell them, hey, this is what I'm doing.
Like
so
that.
if you see your face or your brand on my page, this is why, you know. Because I feel like this is how we gonna reach back and pull the next person up. Because it can't be done by ourselves. True enough, I'm watching people do it, but they're not doing it by themselves. Games and championships are not won by a single person. It's a collective of people who respect what's trying to be done, so that they play their position within it all. Because I feel like everybody got a position, and I had to learn that, because I was like, I'm gonna try to do everything. Well, you can't. You're gonna burn yourself out like that. And I did it, you know. And this is why I think this is imperative. There's a lot of people in my family guys got businesses and brands,
that's amazing.
and that they doing stuff. My brother does real estate. A couple of my cousins do real estate. I have a cousin he does all edible products, food and all kind of stuff.
Okay.
He blowing up. Shout out to him, Geek Gorilla.
Wow.
My daughter is getting ready to launch her clothing line.
Okay. Yes.
J Cartier collection.
Oh wow, that sounds nice.
Music, like I'm trying to get. It's so hard to catch them in the music industry. Just for a few minutes, just to kind of like have a conversation and like let everybody know what you're doing. But I feel like music plays such a major part, especially in what you're doing,
for sure.
As far as the art, because it opened up so many doors for y'all to be able to do more than just music.
Definitely.
So I'm a music fanatic.
I think that's what it's about. I think, because I'm not a musician, but I'm literally inspired by so many. But I think it's about the brand, like it's the education. They didn't teach us how to brand ourselves. So it's not, unless it's about also how deep you want to take it. Like you can just be a passion musician and be all about the music and literally not want to make $1. Like that's totally fair. But if you are not and you really want to like elevate in your artistry, it's important that you brand yourself like accordingly and like study like your favorite outside of like how they got into the industry, because like that's very difficult. Like you gotta kind of just study the artistry of that person and kind of believe in your own strategy if you want to be independent. If you do want to go that route, then definitely follow the route of like people who have signed labels and XYZ. But the power is like so much in our hands as a generation now that it's kind of like working backwards. Not like in a sense of like it won't happen, but it's kind of like the longer route to creating your own route. And that might sound crazy how I just said it, but the longer route to creating your own route is like the most successful route, because no one's telling you what to do or how to do it. You kind of like creating your own sauce and strategy that like kind of is literally like your imprint, and you can't copy and paste that. It's easy to copy and paste the entry point to the industry. It's just watch
you being the example.
You know what I'm saying?
You being the example.
Exactly.
So then it's easy to help somebody do
exactly. Because if you build your own industry, which is what I'm in the process of doing, you can't copy that. It's no way that you can like. You can't just go and sit next to Jay-Z and figure out how he, did Rock Nation. It would take a lot, because he studied the whole industry and figured out how to, create his own
within it all.
Exactly.
That's the most powerful thing you can do. I tell so many people, and I've even had this conversation with my children in reference to business, how we sometimes get caught up on, other people is doing the same thing. And I think that becomes a handicap or a hindrance from you actually following through, because you focus so much on who else is doing it.
Exactly.
So how I taught them to get past that mindset is to go to the grocery store and walk down the bread aisle. If Swabos would have been worried about Wonder Bread or any of the other bread brands that's out here, would they be as successful as they are today? And that'll if that can't, you know what I'm saying, jumpstart you to the process of rewiring. Because I heard you talk about unlearning and rewiring.
Definitely.
That is so essential, because you cannot open up no new doors or lay down no new pavement with old ways and keys and strategies. No disrespect to the people who have utilized those things, but sometimes what works for somebody else don't work for you. And vice versa, and that's okay. That's not a bad thing.
For sure.
Although it's been told to us that it is. It's not a bad thing for you to have your own thoughts, create your own lane, and stand and walk in your truth, regardless to who is bothered by
Facts.
it. Because it's always going to be somebody. that's bothered by something that you doing.
Facts.
And in your mind, you be like, I ain't even nowhere near where I'm trying to be. And you already cutting up. Like, for what? No. But see, I think in the past, I utilized that in the wrong way. Where it's like, hater. No. That's motivation.
Yeah.
And the sooner you flip the way you think about how people... Because people only act the way they do because they lacking the understanding behind what you doing and how you doing it. Instead of them saying, because one of my followers posted, instead of them asking how you did it, they gonna come up with a million ways and excuses to
how you
create attention or imaginary beef about something when you can just learn. It's not hard.
No,
you got some people out here that's willing to give you the information. I call that gatekeeping to people who do not want to share information.
Definitely.
Please stop doing that, because the word information is to share knowledge, wisdom. So stop doing that. Share whatever has been shared with you, because if nobody ever shared it with you, then what would you have to share?
Right.
And if you look at it like that, you'll stop being so selfish with the things that you come across, because that's a blessing all by itself, for somebody to take the time out to give you something that's probably worth millions for free.
Yeah.
Seriously. Like, I'm not blowing gas up nobody's butt. I'm just simply saying, like, take advantage of those times and those opportunities when you around them type of people who willing to give you the game, and they ain't doubling back like, oh, okay, that's gonna cost you X, Y, Z.
Right.
Do what's required. What is some of the like business nuggets and like gems you could give for people who thinking about starting their own business or just don't know where to start and what kind of avenues or resources is available to make that happen, so you can change that from just a thought to an actual reality?
First, I would say write it down.
Like
the
basics. Woo!
The basics.
Boom.
Because if it's stuck in your mind and you keep thinking about it, then that means it's time for it to come out. It's like a baby. It's ready to pop. So it's like it's up to you to release that. If it done came from like, especially if like it came from like a dream, or if it's literally just like one of them thoughts that just keep coming to the forefront of your mind, that means it's time to write it down. So write down the thought as specific as you keep seeing it in your head, because you know what you want to do. Like, specific to the T what you want to do, because you keep thinking about it. So write that down specifically, and then kind of like get into the specifics of whatever you're trying to do and research that industry. Like, we as black people, we can't be scared to educate ourselves. And it's like the best thing once you get used to doing it, because you get so far. Like, because you don't gotta be thinking that you gotta know everything. You don't. Just follow somebody who do know, because you don't, and be humble in knowing that you don't. It's okay. But open yourself up to that education, to specifically whatever sector you're looking to get into. Like, over-drown yourself in education with it. Make it fun for yourself so that you get more confident and inspired to do just what you see them people doing in YouTube University. Like, just, you can do that and know that you're a seer. You're not a follower. You're a seer. You're just educating yourself because you're going to do the same thing. So while you're in that, I'll just say, realm, you're going to end up building your confidence. It's going to be like you so eager to end up doing it because you done watched all these videos, you done read all these books, you done just amped up your confidence. So then eventually, if you ain't already maybe like got the LLC or paid the $99 or whatever you got to do on the back end, you're going to eventually feel inspired enough to do whatever your first point is. Maybe your first point for me for the clothing line was to simply like make my logo. Like, once I made the Indi logo, it was a wrap. like once me and my homie made the logo in her dorm room, it was like, okay, yeah, this is it. Like, Indi, individuality. That's it. It's been the logo. It's been stamped. certain logos might come from it, like Be Happy or Fuck Anxiety, but like, no. Indi, the brand on like, Indi stands for individuality, platform for, elevating the independent artist. That has been tried and true for the past 10 years. So you got to pick a brand name, pick something that really sticks to your whole spirit. Like, you got to know that the business is, good. You don't get emotional with the business, but it is a spiritual journey. You can't be scared to, like, go in there because, like, it's going to take all of your energy to figure out what you're doing. It's not just like, I would be speaking a different type of concept of thought, maybe if I was a different race, but, like, since we black and we already are coming from, like, that spiritual nature, like, everything about that business really is creation. So it's like, taking away the analytical part is what's going to take your fear out. Because just because it's titled business doesn't mean that it's not creative. Like, you have to make money. Money is what makes the world go around. We live in America. You have to be able to profit, pay your rent every month, pay your mortgage, pay your bills. Okay, cool. That does not mean you cannot have fun in your business structure. That does not mean that if you like, making s'mores all day for a living, that you can't figure out how to be the best s'mores maker and figure out how to get hella different recipes and make a s'more shop. That don't mean that. It just means that you love s'mores so much that you got to make s'mores make sense. Money, dollars, profit, consistently. So you make it make sense to you in the most fun way possible, because as black artists, specifically speaking for us, we working with our inner child every single day. It's going in and out from inner child to adult.
Ooh, I'm so glad you said
inner
that.
Child to adult. I'm every single day. My inner child popped out today. I had to put her back in because I'm 30. So it's like, okay, 30, not 13. Go back. 30-year-old come outside.
That's so good.
So it's like we battle with that all the time. We're not being taught how to nurture that part because our inner child didn't get a lot. I'm from Cleveland. It's a lot of shit my inner child didn't get. So that's why I'm so artsy now. That's why I turned my grandma, kitchen floor into a grass chalk floor. Like, splatter room, put paint all on the walls, because I didn't get that freedom as a kid. I couldn't just go crazy in my mama's house and go crazy. I could on canvas and on, paper and things that she bought me, but it wasn't like I could just be Basquiat, which is what I was inspired by. I couldn't just go down the streets of Cleveland and go da-da-da on the walls, because that's not what we're encouraged to do. Even though we should, but that's not what we're encouraged to do.
The child at heart as long as possible.
Exactly.
I think it's probably the biggest lesson to learn.
Yes.
Even within your business. I learned, just from the several businesses that I've started was, man, how bad do you want it?
Exactly. That part too. It's like a soul.
How serious are you?
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of people do a lot of this, but there is no action. Action is really the only way you could cancel out fear. Period.
Facts.
You can talk all you want about how you could be doing things or should be, but if it's no action behind the words, you ain't doing nothing. You just talking.
Exactly.
And that's easy for people to do. But what kind of action are you putting behind it? Like, regardless I think that we focus too much on the front end too. In a business. We wanna automatic profit from the things that we doing. And we forgot that that's not how seeds are planted and grown and nurtured. You got to be willing to plant it and leave it be and let it do what is natural, which take time. You got the incubator process.
Right.
You got the nurturing process, and then you got the process where you pick it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people want to go from the seed going in the ground straight to the picking.
Impossible.
And it don't work like that.
It's impossible. It also matches with finance. Like, we got to educate ourselves on the finance part, because if we not financially literate in whatever business we're trying to run, that's the reason why we're thinking like that. So it's like, your business is not your escape route. Like, it is a business. It's gonna be like a lifespan. Like, it's like a child. Like,
not your
so
escape route. That's good.
It's not unless you come from trust fund money, or unless you got a substantial amount of investment money that you can, use a business to escape with. And if you black coming from Cleveland and you just started a clothing line, or you just started a soap bar business, or you just started a cereal company, that's not your escape route. You probably still need a job or a back end, investment to keep that going. So it's like, until that thing, your business gets legs like a child of its own and can walk successfully without stumbling. Like, you got to be able to understand that financial backing is important. So as creatives, we get laxed on that. We be like, we love making the art, but we get shy on selling it. What the fuck I just make all this shit for if I ain't trying to sell it? Like, it's like you gotta have that energy to keep going all the way through. Like, I ain't about to sit here for hours and paint this painting for hours and then just put it in my room and look at it. I love it so much, I did do it, but I think it's worth at least 500 if I can't get to 5,000 yet. And if it is that 5,000 I'm looking for and it's not in my city, maybe I go to New York and do a show. Maybe I go to Philly and do a show. But it's about looking at that finance structure and what's going to make the most sense for your business. And it might not be in your city. It might be your pharmacy.
Oh, yes. Because I was just about to tell you to talk about that, because I think a lot of us are afraid to leave out of our backyards.
Definitely.
To go somewhere else, to see something else, to understand somebody else's upbringing.
Exactly.
Or way of perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I also feel like, and I just saw this in a video, if you not absolutely terrified by your dream,
it ain't big enough. Yep.
And oh man, I was like, ugh. You gotta be willing. You gotta be willing to succumb and surpass that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You know how you was talking about before, the feeling of fear, or just the uneasy feeling, because I think a lot of us feel uneasy first before we actually take the step or the leap. Yeah. So you got to be willing to push past that, so you can see what's on the other side. Because what was the purpose of you doing any of it for you being able to see the vision if you weren't gonna follow through with it?
Literally.
And stop asking God and the universe for stuff that you ain't ready for. Because that's the devil, like, and it's like you are ready for it. It's like, if you know God exists, then you gotta know the devil exists. You can't sit there and pray. There's no such thing as
good without evil. Like, you can't sit there and pray and think the devil not tap dancing on your prayers. Like, you can't think that. Like, you gotta know that, okay, God, if I ask for this and it's a big ask, you gonna get some big distractions. Yeah. And you gotta be ready for them big distractions and know how to be conscious enough to know that it's a distraction, so that by the time your blessing really pull up, you don't miss it. Like, we talking about missing opportunities. Like, you gotta know how to decipher between that good and bad.
Bet on yourself.
You feel me?
That's probably the biggest nugget I want everybody to take away from this whole conversation. Bet on yourself.
Yes.
Because it's going to be the best decision you ever did.
Facts.
Because ain't nobody going to ride for you the way you going to ride for yourself.
Facts.
And stop expecting people to see what you see. Because they not. And I had to learn that. I had to be okay with what I saw and what other people could see. Be humble and be grateful that you can see through the lenses that you see through. Definitely. And don't take that for granted, because it's a lot of people they can't see.
They clogged up.
And that come from them not being willing to just let go and embrace whatever is in them. Because like you said, this is all about birthing whatever is God done put inside of you, And we all good at something.
Yes.
Are you ready to figure out what that something is so you can latch on to it? Because that's the only way you're going to wake up fulfilled. I think a lot of people think that they're going to work every day